Hello, hello. Welcome again. Just doing the last step to get our live published. We got audio, that's a good sign. Public, and away we go. Okay, so I'm going to try and do a little shorter one today than I typically do, but I felt really called today. I did a post on my Facebook page a little bit ago about Ascension wisdom, and there's a lot underneath that, and I wanted to spend a few minutes just talking about it, and I call it Ascension Simplified. So my definition, based on my experience and all the stuff that I went through in my ascension process, and I'm not fully ascended by any means, but I just have a perspective that might help people. So ascension is basically, in the simplest possible form, moving from a lower vibration or a lower dimension, 3D, and in third dimension, we have a lot of control and a whole bunch of programming and other things that have been programmed into us, basically to keep us dense, to keep us as sheep, to keep us as workers, to keep us from taking our full God power in this world. And it's for a purpose. There's a whole bunch of stuff at the upper level, and we don't have to get mired in the whys of all this stuff happening. We just have to become aware that our vibration has been lowered to keep us from being aware. So ascension can also be a transition of awareness. So go from going completely unconscious, running out of our subconscious mind, running from programming that we didn't consciously know had an effect on us, into moving to being aware of why there's these effects, why is there's the reactions in my body, why do I feel tightness in my chest, why is my shoulders hurting, why do I scream and lash out when something bad happens or somebody triggers me. These are all part of the programming that's, think of it as mud. It's been just caked on your body over time, and some of it's on your face, and some of it's covering your eyes, and some of it's covering your third eye and your senses as a spiritual being. And it's taught us that this is all we can have. This is, and we got to sit and be tight and scared and worried and all these things. And it's basically a process of fear that's built into our body. And some people might know that fear has an acronym that goes with it: false evidence appearing real. Well, once we become aware that reality is based on all our beliefs, our programming, our stories, what's worked out before, what didn't work out before, etc., creates a reality around us. And that reality can be something that's really light and fluffy and fun and all your desires and miracles, or that reality can be a cage. And that cage can be like, oh, last time I did that, I got attacked, so I'm never going to do that again. So now all of a sudden you section off a little bit of the world and say, I'm not going to do that again because I got attacked last time. Well, is that completely true? Well, no, your mind's trying to protect you. So it's saying, okay, don't do that ever again, right? So all of a sudden now a part of you is like in the cage saying, okay, well, that part was too happy, too fun, too accepting, too open-hearted, and I got attacked because of it. And then the next thing will be, oh, it's like, okay, money doesn't grow on trees, or money doesn't come easily, or whatever. And then all of a sudden a little part of you is like, oh, okay, I guess I can't have that because money doesn't grow on trees, and it doesn't free flow. So all of a sudden a little part of you that says money can flow easily, it gets put away because that's going to cause you trouble. Our whole life, and we're not even going to know which things happen to us, but our whole life is programmed based on our parents. Our first 8 years of growing up is basically taking in information from our parents, and they're not even consciously aware, but they have traumas, they have troubles, they have programming, they have all this kind of stuff, and comes into us unconsciously, and we don't even know if it's good or bad, or if it aligns with us or whatever. So we just keep getting denser and denser and denser, and the muck builds up. And basically we get down to the point we have dark nights of the soul, or we get triggered, or we get angry, or we get all these things. And these are the nudges the universe is trying to give us, like a little whack on the side of the head that says, okay, there's something wrong here. And as time goes on, we also get traumas. We get rapes. We lose our house. We go bankrupt. We have a divorce. We have a lover leave us, or somebody have an affair against us. These things all just keep caking on us and feed this story of unworthiness that the universe in 3D has created for us to learn from. So we come here with all these stories, with all these pains, all these sufferings, all these kind of things, and they literally claw at us from keeping more aware, to get more happy, to be more positive, to be more whatever. And our worthiness goes down, our ability to say that we deserve better goes down, etc. So ascension is basically a journey of self-exploration to bring your vibration up, to make better choices, to reopen your possibilities. And it's a conscious process. This conscious process will basically, some people would say, smash us, kill us, try to make us in so much fear that we want to die. And we just keep journeying through it. And a lot of people just keep like, oh, okay, this means that I can't do that, and this means I can't do this and that. And then eventually get to this density point where you just kind of implode, you hit a rock bottom, have a dark night of the soul or whatever. And then you're forced to look at it and say, okay, where's my part in this? Why is this happening? And then we get a little bit of awareness. Rumi, as the great philosopher or whatever, basically says the wound is where the light shines in. So we get all these wounds that smash us and crack us, and we got this perfect outside facade, and the wound just says, oh, and you get this crack, but light needs to shine in to start to say that there's more, because we're like in a concrete cast of ourselves, and this is as big as we can get, and this is the best we can do, and we can do all this. The world will teach us all these things, but really it was be part of the 3 dimension, the high or the low density and the high pressure that's going on around us to keep us small, to keep us from inhabiting our godhood, our fullest power, all our self-expression. So the process of ascension is to like, okay, I'm seeing out the crack of that little crack where the light shines in, and it's like, holy shit, there's a big wide world out there, what's going on? And the light's shining in, and it's kind of like, ooh, it feels good, but at the same time there's a whole bunch of fear. It's like, oh, if I go outside there, I'm going to get hurt again. So there's this kind of inner battle of our mind versus our heart, and our heart saying, okay, I want to go out, I want to be higher vibration, I want my chest to expand, I want to feel more love. And then our mind and our ego and all these kind of things are just saying, no, that's how you got in trouble last time, so let's stop. So ascension is basically the process of leaning into all the things that say no. It's like going up to the edge. It's like I'm pushing against that concrete. And what would happen if I put my hands on that concrete and it was only about 1/4 of an inch thick, and I pushed really hard, and all of a sudden the hole got bigger? And then you're leaning into it, and it's like, ooh, is this scary, or is this happy, or is this fun, or is this whatever? And you don't know yet because you've never been there before. And you're sitting inside and you're questioning some things, and you're saying, oh, how come this world is so much bigger out here than the one I've got here? And the density is keeping you down, but your head's sticking out, and it's like, oh, this feels really light. The sun on my face, the beauty that's going on, I want more of this. So then you lean in a little more and you start to breathe, and all of a sudden your breathing expands your chest, and you're hitting up against that concrete shell, and all of a sudden it's like crack. Ooh, okay, something's happening. I'm expanding. Small, you need to fit inside that concrete facade that the world painted on us to say, this is a good boy, this is a good girl, and this is how you fit into society, and this is how you have a job, and this is how you blah, 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 blah. There's a million things. Ascension is leaning into all the restrictions you've put, leaning into that fear, the tightness in your chest that says, I'm going to die if I say my truth, the tightness in my throat that's strangling me and stopping me from having my breath. What if that's just that concrete shell that was painted on us, and now we need to expand, and all of a sudden it'll crack, and then it's like, oh, okay, crack some more, crack some more. We're leaning into stuff that feels uncomfortable. That feels like fear to most people. But I'm going to tell you a little secret right now. It's exhilaration, it's expansion, it's change, it's different. And if we start to feel that leaning up against the wall, going into triggers, having a hard conversation with people, exploring a different way, all of a sudden starts to expand you. This little excitement starts to come, and the fear and the exhilaration are so close together. You know, you're on the roller coaster and you're just to go over the top, and you're just like, it's fear, or it's like, oh, my heart's going to be in my stomach's going to be in my mouth in a sec, and I'm going to go down there, and am I scared, or am I happy, or am I whatever? And some people are laughing, and some people are screaming at the top of their lungs, because the difference is so small. So I'm going to tell you, it's exhilaration. And it's going to be, your body is going to take it as fear. But until you go up against it, and you go up against it, you have places and communities where you can go explore your edges, find people that'll trigger you, but hold the space for you as a person. How do you find this? Most people go into relationships, and they go into marriages and stuff like this, and you start getting kind of banged up by your partner's reflection of you. And most of the time, we don't want to deal with it. It's like, oh, where the hell do they get off saying this thing about me? So I'll say the worst thing about them, about their worst fear, and just slash them so that they stop. But really, we came into that relationship to have somebody to lean into to these kind of things. So we just need to be taught some really key tools. Tools like the triggers training. I've got a triggers training on my awakening page, on my Living Your Light page, and you go through it, and it's going to explain what those energies feeling in your body are, and how to sit with them, how to go up to the edge, and like, I'm terrified, but I'm going to have to say something. So instead of saying something that's like, fuck you, get away, you're saying, I really feel uncomfortable that you're saying this to me, and I'd like to discuss it. And you're just like, are they going to kill me? Are they going to yell at me? Are they going to whatever? And you're going to find out that having the ability to go into that energy and look at it and do something really hard is going to give you this massive gift, because all of a sudden that other person's going to like, oh, they're different. What's going on here? And if you both have the tools to deal with your triggers, they're going to come back and say, okay, what's going on? And maybe it's a little girl or a little boy inside just going like, oh, this is going to be scary. And then you go through it, and then it's like, oh, that wasn't nearly as scary as I thought. And next time you're going to want to have that conversation. You're going to want to communicate more. You're going to leave less unsaid and hoped, and more agreed to and stated. That's the expansion. All of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, I can be free. I can speak my truth. And all of a sudden that throat chakra expands, and the chains that were on it, or those little things they put the slaves on or whatever, the padlock, all of a sudden just bursts open. And now all of a sudden you're able to say something. Now you're going to feel lighter. You're going to feel more excited. And then you're going to feel leaning into these hard things isn't nearly as scary as it was. And now you're going to start to see its exhilaration. It's like, ooh, why didn't I ever choose to speak my truth? Why didn't I ever choose to embody my power? Oh, this feels scary. No, it doesn't feel scary. This feels exhilarating, because now I'm making real change, and I'm making connection with people, and having some level of intimacy with that person. It's like, oh, there's a scared little child underneath that wasn't okay with this. And am I in my power? Do I feel comfortable to people if I'm not in my power? No, they feel kind of repulsed, because they don't know, if you're not safe with yourself, how can you be safe with them? But the person that speaks up and says their truth and asks for an honest answer is the person that they're going to feel safe with. And then it's going to give them permission to be safe. And then this awakening stuff becomes like this avalanche that starts to happen. It's just like you throw a couple small rocks of vulnerability down the hill, and more and more and more and more people want that vulnerability. And then you awaken, you enlighten, you feel less put upon, you feel like things aren't working out, because you're asking. You're changing, you're being honest, you're doing all these things. And each time you lean into something that's hard, each time you lean into a fear, each time you look at your trauma, each time you go back and feel the emotions of this thing that you never really processed, it becomes lighter. It becomes lighter. It's built into a ball like this. And each time you cry and you release a little bit of the emotion, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, until all of a sudden all the energy's out of it. And that thing doesn't drive your life anymore. It's not like, I'm scared, I'm going to get raped, or I'm going to get attacked in the alley, or I'm going to get whatever. Now all of a sudden it's like, I shine the truth. I have boundaries. I say no. I trust my intuition. I'm not going to do that anymore. That doesn't feel good. I'm not going to do that. as you become more self-aware, you awaken. We can sit and do workshops, or we can, here's the hardest part. Most people let the awakening process happen to them, and they're not consciously stepping through it. So it's like, oh, I'm going to run into this wall and run into that wall, and this thing's going to happen to me, and this thing, and it's going to make me a dark night of the soul. And I'm going to suffer and feel pain and all this kind of stuff. What if you had a place, you had people that you could go to and say, hey, you're dealing with some trauma. Let's go there. Let's talk about it. Let's be really visceral and vulnerable about it. I want you to scream and yell and express all that energy about what you felt like being a victim and how you're going to do different now and these kind of things. And instead of saying, hey, here's a wounded little person or whatever, instead, here's a massive person that's courageous and free. And as I enable that and I allow that to happen without any judgment, you grow, we grow. You need that for dozens of things that are happening within you. But instead, we just sit there and we curl up in a ball and we feel bad, and it just keeps happening to us, and it keeps hammering us on the head over and over and over again. The same thing keeps happening. And we don't make a choice to make a change because we didn't have a safe container. We didn't have the courage. We didn't have somebody to walk beside us. How much easier would it be to walk beside someone that said, I had that exact same thing happen to me, and I know all about it, and I want to hear about it. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, you're just like me. Oh, maybe I'm not so bad. That's ascension. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, courage and maybe this little, oh, wow, it can be different. And then the magic happens. The magic happens. You all of a sudden start to want to lean into everything. Everything becomes exciting. The journey of self-exploration becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And at one point, I thought I was a masochist, like I was getting beat up all the time. Now I just lean into it, and I don't see it as being beaten up. I see it as opening, releasing, freeing myself. So these are ascension, getting to a higher vibration, making better choices in your head. Stop beating yourself up. Start loving yourself. That's the simplest process. And trust me, the universe will send you every experience, every tool, every whatever, but you just got to be willing and say, okay, I'm going to go on this journey because it's been killing me my entire life and I'm tired of it and I want better. And I guarantee you, come talk to me, come talk to anybody that's willing in this process, and they'll listen, and you will change and things will get better. And that stuff that you thought wasn't possible, all of a sudden is completely possible. That's ascension. So do you want to be drug roughshod across all this shit until you eventually break open and are just like on the ground? Or do you want to have a conscious process with other people that give you tools that you can go into this, start to be aware of it, start to know your body, start self-mastery? That's what we need for ascension process. Not this, I can't figure it out because it's too hard. No, you deserve far better. And that's what I'm here to talk about. I went the hard way. I want everybody that I talk to have the easy way. And I'll talk about it. Every one of my videos talks about it. This gives you a huge amount of information to start the process. And it's so much simpler than we thought. Just go lean into things. Learn the tools for communication, learn the tools for vulnerability, learn the tools for dealing with your triggers, and you're going to get through it in record time, and it's not going to have to hurt. It's not going to be suffering. It can be fun. So, and that's what living your light community is. That's what awakening through sexuality is. They're just two different levels of going into your edges and healing. The living your light is learning the tools, learning all these things. But if you want to go faster and you want to resolve that stuff, then we bring in the sexuality and the thermonuclear power of orgasm and all these things that will just open us and push the emotion out without us having to freaking process everything. Nothing is better than using pleasure as the healing modality that it is, using all the oxytocin and all the beautiful hormones instead of having to flush our body with cortisol and all these things that make us scared and this is uncomfortable and I deserve struggle, is instead replaced with pleasure and flow and bliss and rapid healing. And that's why I teach it. That's why I'm so dedicated to it. It terrifies people in some regards, but it is the most rapid way to ascend ourselves with the least pain and suffering. So I love you. I thank you. And please just listen to this. Just just go underneath and you're going to know there's some truth in it. And start taking it in. It's going to change. So I love you. Keep watching. Have a great day. Thank you for tuning in. See you soon. Bye.